Welcome to another Online Personals Watch interview. Today I'm joined by Brian Donegan, who is the Business Development Manager for IT with the Isle of Man. He works with the government. So welcome to the interview, Brian.
Thank you very much, Mark. Nice to have me here. Looking forward to a really good interview.
We're a little off topic. Normally we have CEOs doing these interviews, by the way, of internet dating companies, but I thought it was particularly pertinent because these days there are two kinds of internet dating companies. The ones that don't have a mobile app and are losing money to their competitors who do, and the ones that do have a mobile app and are losing money because of not monetizing quite as effectively as they used to. So I think the money that hits the bottom line is more and more of a concern these days. So the reason we're doing this interview is because Isle of Man is taking an interest in the internet dating industry. So Brian, perhaps you can tell me a bit more about what you do.
Sure. Maybe I could just wind it back a little bit, Mark, and give you a little bit of context. About 6-7 years ago, the Isle of Man became involved in iGaming and very, very quickly turned that into a successful subsector of our IT industry. It's currently responsible for in excess of 10% of our GDP, our gross domestic product, employs in excess of 700 people in the Isle of Man, with an average income of £55,000 sterling and growing rapidly. There are a number of dynamics and characteristics that the Isle of Man offer that made it attractive for the iGaming industry to locate here. Principally, it was zero corporate tax, that is, no corporate tax, and a very, very strong IT infrastructure in the Isle of Man with very capable hosting facilities and a strong skills pool. And ever since, we've been busy growing and managing that industry, but we have a strong interest in finding other verticals that can complement what we've been doing on iGaming. And we think that looking at internet dating, we think that there are strong parallels. Internet dating is transactional based. There's no product to ship. And it doesn't seem to have a great deal of regulation, although I've got some good ideas on regulation and how that can enhance potentially the industry. So we're looking at the industry with an interest to see how we could actually take our services and package them and put a proposition together that will be attractive to your industry. Very, very simply. We think that zero corporate tax and the infrastructure on IT is hugely attractive. We also, as a government, we offer 40% grant assistance to companies that relocate to the Isle of Man across a basket of headings like hardware, software, setup costs. And of course, all of that goes straight to the bottom line. So if you do a combination of zero corporate tax, and the grant assistance available from the government, very quickly you can see a picture emerging of enhanced profitability. So for investors, we think that's attractive.
Also, about the infrastructure regarding the internet, that's going to be a key concern, of course, the speed of the internet.
Sure, we have a what we call a self-healing ring that connects the Isle of Man to both Ireland on one side of us and to the UK on the other, and that is backed up with a mirror image network. So effectively, if one of the rings actually falls out of use, then the other one kicks in. We have uninterrupted power supply. We have a spur from the gas line that runs from Scotland to Ireland, so we have an uninterrupted natural gas supply coming into the Isle of Man. And we also supplement that with our own independent diesel generation for electricity. In fact, we generate so much electricity that we export that to the UK via our fiber optic cabling. So in terms of internet infrastructure and in terms of power supply, we do very well. We only use about 10% of our total capacity in terms of internet infrastructure. So we're in good shape to actually take on additional business in that sense.
I understand that you need to enjoy the benefits of having a corporation in Isle of Man. You need to have a couple of executives based in Isle of Man. Is that correct? What are the specifics of that?
Well, the thinking behind that is that this idea of substance is important. So if you're going to have a business or a company established in the Isle of Man, the idea of having a brass plate is unacceptable. You need to have some real substance. And so those two people should actually be middle management caliber. And so we have a significant business that is generating jobs on the Isle of Man, running a proper business here. So it's really in line with all of the requirements that we see coming out of the whole regulatory regime change that we see internationally. And Isle of Man is very much in step with all of those regulatory changes.
And in general, what can you tell us about the Isle of Man, for those who don't know?
For those that don't know, the Isle of Man sits in the Irish Sea, just off the northwest coast of England. We are 85,000 people in the island. The island is a crown dependency of the UK, but we are independent in terms of our economy. Our Manx pound is pegged with the pound sterling, and the Queen is head of state. But in terms of our taxes and in terms of our business regime, we're independent of the UK in that sense. So we can do the things that I've described without any interference. So from that point of view, that's important. One thing that, sorry, go on.
And how about VAT? That was the other thing.
VAT, yes. VAT is at the standard rate of the UK, so it's at 20%. And the way that works is that we collect VAT for goods and services on the island and rebate that back to the UK, and they give us a portion of that in return on a per capita basis. But we find that generally VAT is not an issue, largely because the lower costs associated with doing business in the Isle of Man offset the costs of VAT if people see that as a negative.
How would that work for an American-born company that relocated to the Isle of Man that continued to do a majority of its business in the USA?
The VAT issue is really only an issue for the European area.
Right.
So out with the European area, it's not an issue.
And Brian, another key question, of course. What are the personal taxes?
Personal taxes are very low, Mark. The personal rates of tax start at 10%, rising to 20% at the highest for all employees. But for high net worth individuals, we have a tax cap, which essentially means that anybody's worldwide income, if it exceeds £600,000, they pay no more than £120,000 tax per annum. That's irrespective of whether you earn £600,000 or £600 million. Once you hit that benchmark, you pay no more than £120,000. And that's been a huge attraction to a lot of owner-manager type businesses that have been very successful because they clearly see they get a double whammy. So on the one hand, the business pays zero corporation tax, which is very attractive. And on the other hand, personally, they pay very low personal rates of tax as they qualify for the tax cap. And as it's on worldwide income, a lot of the people that I see in my business are operating businesses in multi-jurisdictions. And so it's a huge attraction for them to come and live here and avail of that tax benefit.
And what does living there entail in terms of months a year? 6 months a year, I imagine, for the minimum?
But generally, we find that people who want to come and live in the Isle of Man want to come and live in the Isle of Man permanently. And every application that we get is different. It all depends on people's circumstances, where they're from, what they want to do to the broader economy. Our real interest is in generating revenue and jobs that effectively enhance the Isle of Man economy. And we welcome all high net worth individuals who want to come and investigate the island and look at it from the point of view of relocating here. Happy to help and happy to talk to them.
So another key question, property. How much does it cost for business-oriented property and personal, roughly? Give us an idea.
Yeah. On the personal side, you can buy a very attractive 4-bedroom detached executive home in and around the capital, Douglas, for £500,000-600,000 pounds. It equates very, very well with the UK market. And touch wood, we haven't had any real recession in the Isle of Man in the same period as UK and elsewhere since the crash of 2008. So that's been good. There is a selection also on commercial property. There's a selection of modern steel and smoke glass buildings in our business parks. And they reflect very well in relation to competitiveness compared to the UK. They're probably 30 to 40% lower than mainland UK prices. And also because we have a business district, there's some Georgian Victorian conversions that are on a par in terms of cost with that as well. So the centre of Douglas is very much the business district, but over the last 10, 15 years, as capacity has increased, we've had business parks emerge on the outskirts of the city, and they've been quickly bought up by investors and tenants.
Great. And do you have any internet dating companies there? You've got iGaming mainly. Yeah, I think.
Yes, the internet gaming or iGaming industry is dominated by poker stars, who probably be a household name at this point. Also, microgaming, Playtech, lots of familiar names people in the industry will know. But again, these businesses have been attracted to the island for mainly the internet infrastructure that I've described earlier, and also the fiscal opportunity that we have in terms of zero corporate tax and very attractive low personal taxes. And the Isle of Man is a relatively low cost jurisdiction in terms of salaries. We don't get that high price inflation that you get elsewhere, and staff generally tend to be quite loyal, so you don't get a lot of movement in terms of jobs. So people tend to stick with their employers, which is a very good sign, actually.
Great.
Okay.
What should people do if they want to find out more?
Contact me in the first instance, and I would be more than happy to help them and give them additional information and advice. I think you've got my contact details.
Yeah.
Shall I tell you now what my email is? Okay. My email is Brian's, which is BRIAN .Donegan is DONEGAN @gov, which is GOV.I for India, M for Mike.
Great. I'd also encourage readers to ask questions. Brian, if you'd like to keep an eye on it on the post when we run it for 2 or 3 days, and that's another way that people can contact you, I'm sure. So, Brian Donegan, you look after business development for IT for the Isle of Man. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you.